Hi there, this is Adamantium, and just as a departure from my normal, podcasts, this is my response to the Why I Advocate campaign. Now, when I first thought about this question, why I advocate the Zeitgeist movement, I sat down and thought about that kind of question, and one of the things I realised is, if someone asked me that question just straight out, just possibly right off the bat, I would list off my reasons for, why I feel that we need to move out of this system of money. I would, basically, I would say why I feel that this system is wrong and why we need something different. I guess when it comes to the question of why I advocate the Zeitgeist movement, it's really the fact that I've been brought up and educated to a certain extent by the educational system. This is really mainly my own self-education that has culminated in this. That's culminated this will to be intellectual and free thinking and just critical about everything. I mean, as I've just said, I've been critical of the question itself of why I advocate the Zeitgeist. I'm even critical of that. I'm too critical at times. But I think that's partly what makes what constitutes my free thinking. Everything should be scrutinized. Everything, even if it even if it brings down your current value systems or beliefs or thoughts or perspectives, even if it completely threatens your whole way of thinking. If you think critically about things, then you can really learn. I do apologize because today I just suddenly decided that I was going to make this video, and and it's just very impromptu, and it's incredibly hard for me to be concise and direct when it's all impromptu, and when it's all I tend to be very higgledy-piggledy if I don't have a set train of thought laid out that I have laid out for myself. I guess the reason why I advocate the Zeitgeist movement in the most simplistic way to answer the question is because it's the only thing that I have seen that actually proposes changes that will actually do something. I've read through the manifesto of the Green Party. When back in the 1997 elections, my school held the mock elections, and different students volunteered to be different representatives or candidates for different political parties and make speeches and see how many votes they get. I myself picked the Green Party because I did my bit of research, not that much research. It was 1997, so I wasn't very old. I was probably about 14, 15 then. But no, I look at the Green Party's policies now even, and I recognise that they're going in the right direction, but they're not going all the way. They're not going far enough. And the reason why I advocate the Zeitgeist movement is because it's the only thing that I've seen so far that actually does have the courage to go that far, to go far enough to actually recognise that it is the system itself that is the problem, that it is the system itself that is the generator of all this aberration and all this destruction and all this death and suffering. And it takes a lot of courage to do that. It takes a lot of balls to say that it's not the incompetence of the builder that is trying to correct the errors in your house. it's the foundations on which your house has been built to begin with. And it takes a lot of balls to say that, and I like being part of something that actually has the courage to stand up and say, wait a minute, this is the real elephant in the room. This is the real problem. And, you know, and the reason why all the rest of you are not acknowledging this is because it's too hard. It's too difficult to acknowledge that whatever you have is the actual problem. I mean, but we see a strange dichotomy in our different walks of life. So for example, the medical industry. Now, I myself have been a long-term patient of the NHS and an employee of the NHS. So, you know, I've seen things from both sides of the fence. But I realised that it's strange that doctors not only go after the symptoms of disease, but they go after the disease itself. And that's one strange thing that I've found, like talking to my colleagues when working in the hospital about addressing root causes of problems, and about society, and they don't wish to consider it. The idea isn't just to treat the symptoms, it's to get to the disease itself and attack the disease itself. And then I talk to them about having the same mentality about society, and whoa, you know, it got me into a bit of trouble. I didn't really care about their own personal hang-ups. You know, I cared enough to try and get on their level and try and communicate well with them without offending them, because that's the thing. I don't want to offend anyone with anything that I say to them, but if they do get offended, then I am sorry, but it's not entirely my fault. When people get offended, it's more to do with their propensity towards being offended. You know, I feel that it's more about their scope of different ideas and how willing they are to consider other ideas. And if they get offended, you know, if they don't want to look outside the box or consider anything that is outside of their frame of reference, then they will naturally be offended by the proposal of contrary values. Even if they are as altruistic as can be, then they're still going to get offended. And is that my fault? I wouldn't say so. But no, I'm going off on a huge tangent here. But why I advocate the Zeitgeist movement, for one reason, it's well, there's probably a couple actually, but right now I can think of one main reason, because it's the only train of thought that has the courage to stand up and actually point out the real elephant in the room. For one thing, it's the only, and that is really the only thing that's going to change things for good. You know, I mean, I feel once we've transitioned into a resource-based economy, we won't go back. It's a bit like spending your life eating really bad chocolate. I mean, like really bad stale chocolate, and then one day you get a really nice bar of chocolate and you don't go back. You know, you realise that you've got better now, and you realise that it's optimal. You realise that it's better for you. Well, maybe chocolate was a bad analogy, but okay. So on the other side of the coin, going away from the simplistic way of answering the question of why I advocate the Zeitgeist movement, what are my reasons for advocating the Zeitgeist movement? Maybe that maybe that linguistically is the right question. What are my reasons for advocating the Zeitgeist movement? Why do I feel that my advocation of the Zeitgeist movement is needed? And for one thing, the monetary system that we have is not working. Okay, guys? It's not working. We may be told that it's working, but it's a bit like the crew of the Titanic running around shouting at people, "No, we're not sinking. We're not sinking." We are sinking, and we're sinking faster than we realise. I don't want to sound depressing or that I'm some sort of doomsday theorist or that I'm just trying to scare people. I'm not going to be throwing around any rhetoric or any shit like that or any stuff like that. But no, the system of money, it was good at one point in history. I mean, I guess it was needed at one point in history, but it's not needed anymore. You know, the monetary system was probably needed to manage real scarcity that existed, you know, decades and decades ago, probably 100 years ago, you know. But we don't live in a world where scarcity is a reality anymore. Scarcity is artificially created when companies deliberately limit the resources that we need to survive. For example, oil. Now, in our current paradigm, oil is used for virtually everything. So, in a temporal sense, I guess, I will say that, you know, we do need oil to survive. Only in this current paradigm. That we only need oil because other alternative and optimal technologies have not been put into practice. But the reason why they're not put into practice is because it will, you know, it will completely deconstruct the whole oil paradigm. You know, oil companies will lose money left, right, and centre if people realise, oh, wait a minute, solar power, geothermal power, wind power, you know, we've been told for years and years that they're crap, but they're actually not. They're withholding the technology. And actually, wait a minute, guys, this technology is actually really cool. It could provide an abundance. Wait a minute, why have we been told this for so long? Because the oil companies will lose money. That is why. And people believe this left, right, and centre. You know. But anyway, I'm going off on another real tangent here. Basically, another reason why I advocate the Zeitgeist movement is because it is the first time throughout my whole life that I have actually encountered a way of thinking and a social organisation that actually promotes the idea of independent, critical and objective thinking. You know, I mean, it's a bit like a quote I saw on Trom. It was I can't remember the name of the guy, but because I know he did a TED talk. He's done a couple of TED talks, but the particular quote in Trom is, you know, if any of you know this guy's name, like, you know, please let me know if you've seen Trom and know of this quote, and please let me know, because I need to remember the name of this guy so I can look at some of his other stuff. But the thing that he said was that we spend the first 1 or 2 years of our kids' lives teaching them how to walk and talk, and the rest of their lives telling them to sit down and shut up. And that just struck me as so profound, because our current educational system does not promote the idea of thinking. Okay? And thinking is something that I love to do. You know, my brain is never dormant. You know, I'm always thinking about things. People tell me, "Oh, Adam, you think too much," but no one in the movement has ever told me that I think too much, or that I talk too much, or that I think too deeply, or that, you know, I'm too this or too that. Yeah, granted, when I started to learn of the Zeitgeist movement, I was very passionate. I was passionate to the point of fanaticism, even. But I've learned that fanaticism does not achieve anything. I've realised